So currently where we are, we're in 2022, and up to this point, my current, um, I'll just say my family has been supporting us in this venture since COVID, living abroad. And it's getting to the point to where it's becoming a stress. Um, Sankofa Program will help our children return to their African consciousness, or keep awaken their African consciousness. The goal is, personally, for me, what I strive for my own children, is to have them um, learn their knowledge of self sooner than I did. My goal is to try to eliminate as much as possible the blemish on our ancestry, on our future generations, that the transatlantic slave trade has caused. To stabilize the program, because I've been called in the States to travel and open up a temple there. That's been a mandate to me from the deities. I've been traveling back and forth, so there is a call for increased staffing. And then in addition to that, reliable transportation to make sure that the kids get back and forth from the city where they go to school during the week to the village where they get their spiritual education. That is like an immediate need that we need. And ultimately, what we would like to do is fundraise enough to be able to build a house for the children here in Cotonou, where the children that are coming from America can stay comfortably together, right? And then also build similar quarters right outside the initiation camp, where they can live on the weekends and get their traditional education. So that's way out of my realm as just one mother. But like I said, there's parents that have been coming, and they have asked about bringing their children, and the only way I could offer or open that up to more families is with help. So here I am. I believe in returning our children back to our African consciousness, so much so that it's what I'm doing with my own children. The people that we have, the staff, the schools, the priests, the teachers, everyone that interacts with my child and your child are handpicked by me as a mother hen myself. And so safety was one of the number one concerns from the children's father, and my partner and I worked long and hard to make sure that the right people were around our family to make him feel secure while he's in the States and our children are here. In addition to safety measures in the home, we also made sure that the schools were safe. In addition to the schools, when the kids travel and go out to the country or the village, there are certain safety measures that are there as well. In addition to spiritual protection, which is very, very underrated, but very useful, especially for me as a practitioner and a priest. So safety for me isn't an issue, because I've already put those measures in place for my own children. And what I'm offering to others is just the net of what I've already created for my kids. In addition to safety, the other concern I know parents had a lot is a standard of living, right? And so let me just say that it's not like what we see on the cameras and the propaganda that we've had. Some of the richest cities are in Africa. And in Cotonou, it is a major city, and we live with modern accommodations. And so that wouldn't be an issue at all. Don't want to spend too much time on that. They'll live just like they do at home. As far as their kitchen, toilet, and sanitation, water, water abilities and things like that. Safety. Oh, the other big thing is, what do I do? My child does not speak French, and Benin is a French-speaking country. Good question, and it requires, some consideration. And I would say, my two kids, they didn't speak French. Both of them speak French now. My 6-year-old is completely fluent. He's almost like my mini translator now. My 13-year-old, when he started, as a family, we made a decision to put him into an English-speaking school to ease his transition, because he's a little bit older, and we were thinking more in the future for him, going to college and other things. And so we made the choice as a family to put him into, it's an embassy school. It's called Nigerian International School, and you guys will get an interview or hear from the principals there in this documentary. And he's doing well. He's thriving. It's an English-speaking school, no worries. My 6-year-old, he started when he was 5, and it took him from September to December, so 3-4 months before he started speaking clearly and being able to communicate on his own. As you guys will see in this film, he's completely fluent now, confident and comfortable, and it's only been 1-2 years, right? So I wouldn't worry too much about that, because the kids are young. They adapt easily. Even my son, who's 13, speaks French well. And let me just say, even if they didn't adapt well, right, and language isn't something they pick up strongly, because Benin is situated so closely to Nigeria, there is increasing population here that speaks English because of the marketplace commerce and being able to communicate in the city. So don't worry about that. It's a valid question. It comes up a lot, but with just a little bit of time, within the first semester, your children should be fine. Right? Education standards. So one of the things that I've done as a mom in this program is, every year I still create my homeschool curriculum. I still get my homeschool curriculum from America, and I work with the teachers here to see what they're teaching and then offset that, any missing pieces, so that my kids stay on par with the standards in the US. So when my children first came, we came with tons of books. Every year we come with tons of books, and we have their reading material and their writing material, just in case they're not on the same level, or they're not learning the same thing. Granted, if you want your child to learn certain history lessons to keep in touch with the US standards, that might be a little bit challenging, because even for me, I was a homeschooling mom, and there was a lot of history that I infused in my curriculum that wasn't the standard history, because it just didn't tell our story. So for me, history was a variable, but math, we have a math tutor, we have tutors for all the other subjects as well, and tutoring is standard here in Africa. I know in America that's not our normal practice, but here tutoring is standard. So in addition to going to school during their regular hours, there is an after-school program that all of the children can attend, which I highly recommend. And then above and beyond that, there's a homeschool or a home teacher that either comes to your home or your child travels to. And so the kids have all of those support resources here to help them thrive in addition to just going to school. So my 6-year-old, for example, is fluent speaking in English and French, but also writing and reading in English as well as French. So we kept that up. So he is on the reading level for a first grader. He's actually probably a little bit advanced for first grade reading, and his scores show that he is at the top of his class or near the top of his class for French. So he's fluent in English and French reading and writing, and he's 6. So I don't think that would be an issue. However, there are different grades we haven't touched yet, and so it would just be a matter of when the kids come in, us doing that assessment. That's also something that the professor or homeschool mom that would be there would help assist with as well. So those are duties that we thought of and kept in place. We talked about the spiritual education and cultural knowledge that they'll get. We focus on nutrition here, so to make sure that the kids get their vitamins and that they don't keep the same American diet here in Africa. This is a different climate and a different atmosphere, and we want them to take advantage of the food that is here. It's being naturally sourced, and we go to local farmers that don't use pesticides for most of our produce. And so nutrition is big. The children have a coach here in the house. He's actually like the house dad or the house uncle, and he does the security, chauffeur, parental figure, and is our support for the house here, and gives that added layer of security and support. And you guys will meet him in this broadcast as well. In addition to, I said he's the coach, so we have the soccer, football, boxing, capoeira, and I think the kids just told me there's swimming that they want to do, but we haven't looked into that. But we do have activities for the children here for them to join in, and we just have to come together as a house and decide that semester what we're going to do. But there are extracurricular activities already built into their weekly schedule. There's one thing that I do also want to talk about that's very intriguing about this program as well, is the bridge that it's building from America back to Africa, specifically for the African American. We have met so many people. Actually, where we are is a expatriate, or as I like to call myself, repatriate community. An expatriate just simply means someone that comes from another country that brings their knowledge and skills to the current country. And although some people may consider me an expatriate because I identify as an African that just hasn't been home for 400 years, I consider myself a repatriate. And so in that, there's many expats, repats that have come, established themselves here, building families, getting married, starting businesses, and are thriving right here in Cotonou, Benin. And they come from all over the US, the UK, England, Haiti, Britain, and we're all here making a new life for each other. And so the opportunity here is boundless, right? Because the Benin people welcome their brothers and sisters, right? I was able to get banking, checking accounts, 2 checking accounts here. I was able to start a business, a corporation here. Hopefully with the help of the fundraising, we'll be able to, through the corporation, buy land and build here. But even without that, I've found it's possible. In a lot of African countries, or not even African countries, in a lot of places, you don't have that opportunity. But Benin welcomes us. And so that is one thing that I also wanted to point out, is that a lot of people migrate to Benin because of how welcoming the know that phrase existed, right? Africans don't like us. I didn't know to what degree it existed until I came back after COVID, and there were these big reparation wars or discussions that were right. I mean, that's a whole nother can of worms, but it. I appreciate the conversation and us coming together, but the way it was transpiring just didn't seem productive. But we'll get there. We'll get there. And so, like I said, it wasn't until that I even realized that existed. And the reason being is because I've always been welcomed coming to Africa. I've always been welcomed, whether it was Benin, whether it was Ghana, whether it was Nigeria, Togo, Niger. I haven't gone anywhere in West Africa, where I haven't been welcomed. And even when doing these interviews and speaking with people, when we talk to them and tell them the perception that their brothers and sisters across the water have, which some of us do have the perception that Africans here on the continent don't want us, they're amazed on why they would feel that way and just say, no, you need to come home. Like it always ends with no, tell them to come home. And so that's what we're offering. We're offering a program where the children, families also can come back home with the Sankofa Study Abroad program. I've been coming back and forth to Africa for about 10 years, wanting to know more of my culture, my roots, and my heritage. In my travels back and forth to Africa, I initiated into Voodoo. And my home temple is here in Benin, in Alada, about 1 hour from Cotonou, where we are today. In my evolution, or paradigm shift, as I like to call it, one of the things I became aware of early on was that I could no longer allow the systems to educate my child. And so I became a homeschooling parent. Back in America, there is a growing population of families that are growing tired of the culture there. Of the abuse against our people, the killings, the targeting, the food, air, and water pollution, not to mention the crime, and just all of the things that we suffer from there as Africans in America. We are at the bottom, and we are realizing that the culture that we have been given is not conducive for us.